what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Speaking of coming and going, Emery Jones yesterday made a decision on whether or not he would be returning, and the answer is he will not. Emery Jones is headed to the NFL. Now, this is a bit unexpected because of what we had been hearing. There was a lot of confidence, and I would say a growing belief that Emery was going to return. I heard it for the first time maybe like a month or so ago, and then it continued to come up, and it kind of started to look, I don't want to say likely, but I was getting the feeling, well, maybe I'm wrong here. You know, I'm sure there's people in the know who would say, opposite, but that's how all these situations go, right? One guy's in the know and he thinks this, one guy's in the know and he thinks that. But I would say it's probably accurate to say that they believed, or there was growing belief, optimism, hope, whatever you want to say, that he was going to return. And then the second round grade comes back. Okay, well, he can maybe be a first rounder, but no, Emery Jones going to go to the NFL. And this is a big one here, simply because this would be a fourth-year starter, 4-year all conference, 4-year starting linemen just don't grow on trees. You know, like that's not really something you can just go dive into the portal and replace 1-to-1. Now you're gonna go in the portal for this offensive line. You have to, just like you have to a lot of other positions. But again, I don't think you're going to land anybody or find an option that would have been as good as Emery Jones. So there is a negative effect there, like an objective, undeniable negative effect, where your offensive line, and by extension, your team, not as good as it would have been had Emery Jones returned. I mean, if Emery Jones had come back, you'd have still DJ Hester at center. You'd have Jones somewhere in that mix. And then, so what? I mean, just Hester now. And I mean, Paul Mabinga, who got some starting time at the end of the year, you expect he would factor in heavily. Tyree Adams seems like one of the next guys up. Still excited to see what Weston Davis can do. Maybe Bordelon factors in. But as you can see, at a time where you're going to be replacing so much there, bringing back a fourth-year starter that was all conference level and an NFL player, that would have been massive. Massive. Not even get into the knock-on effect that Emery could have played guard or tackle, so you lost somebody a bit versatile that could have plugged holes in multiple different ways. So, yeah, this is undeniably unfortunate. And it's so funny to watch the mental health and temperature of LSU fans waffle back and forth during this time, where you get a piece of good news, okay, we're fine, we're back. You get a piece of bad news, oh my God, we suck again. And I would just say this. After this season, I feel a bit, how do I want to describe it? I said on the phone yesterday talking to someone, and I'm trying to remember the exact verbiage that I used. It's not apathy. Maybe it's a bit more cynicism. I've been so positive, worked myself up now 3 years or whatever you want to say, like so many times to be like, oh yeah, okay, then now it's like, okay, I mean, what eventually you get enough of these news pieces. This guy transferring unexpectedly, this guy leaving unexpectedly, this guy decommitting, this guy not coming, that at a certain point, like, you're like, well, why do I keep it just piles on. It just piles on. So the Emery Jones news is bad, but again, my reaction to it was kind of like, shrug of the shoulders. Here we go. Just kind of par for the course. This team's got to find a way. And I feel bad for the staff because that's kind of the cold, hard truth of the situation is it's a really tough situation to deal with. Yeah, you're bringing your quarterback back, but now who's going to protect your quarterback and set him up for success? You're going to have to replace basically this entire offensive line. But hey, This comes with the territory. You got to find a way. And every team's going to deal with this in one way or another, in one position group or another. But if you would have told me who were the players that could leave that would have the biggest impact, I mean, who would have been higher? Okay, Nuss, quarterback, obviously. That would have been first. Name me a player that would have been a bigger loss had he chosen to leave than Emery Jones.
Jones and Campbell, and they're both gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I was talking about this yesterday when y'all had to take off early. Like, you could say, oh, okay, well, it's just another loss on the offensive line. You already lost that. This changes everything. His ability to play guard and tackle. And if you really wanted it, you didn't feel good about left tackle, you're like, hey, we got a 4-year guy. Let's throw him there at left tackle. Maybe he could be a Band-Aid there for a year. And, we spent all day yesterday talking about how much of a progression we hope Nuss takes, how we hope he takes that step forward. How much of a step back does the offensive line take? How much does that hinder Garrett Nussmeier? Because, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. Now Nuss will have to learn to protect himself in some way, help his O-line out. Like, he'll have to coach around it. Like, it's not just some it's not a problem that is unsolvable, but it is a tough problem to solve. And Dane Bergeron asked the question I think many are asking. Do you think players do not want to play with Kelly with so many players leaving? That's also tough to say, man, because players are leaving everywhere. Give me a list of the top, like the schools who's had the most players leave. Because I feel like it's going to be many of the premier rosters. Now, there is some insane situations like the Marshall one where, the whole team's in the transfer portal, I believe, like quite literally.
They also have a bowl game coming up, so I don't know
what's going to happen in that bowl game, dude. I guess you got to cancel it. I don't know. But give me that. So I guess I'm not saying that the players, I have no idea how the players feel about Brian Kelly. I do agree that there seems to be a lot of circumstantial evidence. Go ahead.
Looks like Arkansas with 24 players.
Like give me like the top 5, 10, whatever. Let me see.
Arkansas, UCF,
mm-hmm.
Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
and Mississippi State.
Okay.
They're tied 5th with Nebraska.
So where does LSU
and
come
Purdue.
in?
It only goes to 8, so they're not in the top 8.
Okay. Yeah, so again,
I can look though.
I would imagine
LSU is 16.
And then I would imagine that's basically comparable to Alabama and Georgia and basically any school kind of on that level. So
I guess they'd be 9th because the tied for 8th, they have 17 departures.
So give me
Virginia Tech
like
has
Alabama
17.
and Georgia and see where they're at. Because actually right now my theory is not being
And
perfect, 'cause
A&M
those are all
has 17.
teams. Okay.
A&M has 17 in the portal.
Well, the point of all of this is that I don't think LSU has like an extra normal number, but I do understand that there seems to be some circumstantial evidence as to whether or not Kelly's connecting with these players, with these recruits. But the other factor here is the gold rush. Because there is so much money being thrown into the marketplace right now with the antitrust settlement suit coming, or the settlement coming on July 1st, and all of these collectives wanting to spin their entire nut that they've been saving up. I mean, this is wintertime only. We're going to eat all the acorns. And if you want some acorns, you got to be eligible to feast. And the only way that you do that is by putting your name in the market. Now, with Emery, that's not the case, right? Maybe Emery, look, guys, sometimes you just want to go to the NFL if you're a good enough player, college is a grind, and he's done it for 3 years. Should he do another year of wear and tear on his body, or should he go start his NFL career? I mean, that's go test well, go prove, or maybe he's unhappy. That could be anything, though. I can't ascribe motivations there. But in terms of when I see guys hit the portal, I think it's also hard to describe motivations because simply sometimes you just want to maximize what you're going to get paid. And the only way to do that is by entering the portal during this gold rush. Sage Ryan also entered the portal yesterday. Go ahead, Tay.
Alabama has 11 in the portal.
Oh, okay. Actually, that's strong then by DeBoer. Strong player retention. Sage Ryan also entering the portal yesterday. I heard a rumor he's going to Nichols, which would be pretty fascinating. I don't know. But either way, look, Sage, solid player at LSU. Unfortunately, he could never get out of his own 5-star shadow. That's the weird thing about being a 5-star out of high school is if you're a legitimate starter, you could be a fine starter, but you suck. because you weren't a superstar. Whereas if you're a 2-star and you become a starter, everybody loves you and you're great because you've overachieved here. So it's weird. I think Sage is a very solid starter for you. But unfortunately, his own ratings out of high school, he just could, again, never escape that shadow. I don't think that's a massive loss. I think you were already really going hard after safeties anyway, and I think you're going to just, I mean, you were basically going to try to replace him anyway this offseason. So that makes sense that he would hit the portal. But make no mistake, Emery Jones leaving this team, there's no argument, no world, no way to say that LSU is a better team with Emery Jones going to the NFL. You got worse, but now you just got to try to mitigate that damage.
Georgia only has 5 in the portal, but they're still playing meaningful football games in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe LSU is on the higher end of player exits, and maybe it does speak to something because every other team that was around that number in that top 8, there's coaching changes, strife, disappointment. With Elko, it's like a new coach, so that makes a bit of sense. So maybe that would speak to Dane's point. Again, it's tough to parse without knowing, but then you look at things like Charles Turner and which I don't know if we ever talked about what he said in that article here about Coach Kelly, but we can get that. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.